Welcome back to Teaching Connect's YouTube channel. We continue our series dedicated to uplift and inspire our new principals as they assimilate their role as head of school. As a reminder, we recapped the first couple of videos that were launched in this series. Our first video focused on the principal, expectations versus reality. Our second video focused on the principal, pacing yourself. Our third video focused on the principal as instructional leader, and last week's video focused on the principal as people manager. This week, we continue our series and focus on the principal managing data. As a principal, understand that you cannot manage your school efficiently or effectively if you are not paying attention to the various data systems that feed the operations of your school. To give you an example, you may know this. There is data derived from the finances of the school. There is data derived from biographical detail of your teachers and your learners and your parents. There is data sets that is generated as a consequences of the assessment of learners as they complete the curriculum. There is data garnered via the MIS systems of the education department. And as a principal or head of school, you have access to all these data sets. As head of school, understand that you have to use these various data sets as they provide valuable business intelligence that allows you to impact on how the school is being run in terms of its efficiency and effectiveness. We will use an example this week using learner outcome data to give you a sense of why it is important to pay attention to the details. We have the old saying which we use often in education, and that is that the devil is in the detail. In this video, we are not going to pay particular attention to the financial details that the school has access to, neither the biographical details of your staff or your learners or your governors of the school, but we want to, by way of example of learner outcomes, demonstrate to you why it is important to pay attention to the details so that you make decisions as a principal and head of school that moves your school forward and allows it to grow in the direction that you'd like to see the school moving and realizing its vision as an institution. So let's look at the example that we've got available for you, and we'll wrap the video at the end of this example. In front of you, you see an example of a school set up for this purpose, and what we're going to show you are not the mark sheets. Instead, we will show you the reports that are generated out of the mark sheets, given that the mark sheets are simply used by teachers to capture the assessment data in terms of marks based on the assessment tasks of each of the learners. So we will take grade 12, which is an exit grade and drives a national exam for all our schools, and so we have a particular focus in the district on grade 12. So if I click on grade 12, immediately what appears is a screen that highlights all the learners in the particular school. Remember, this is an example of a school, and the unique ID of each learner, which then allows us to generate all kinds of reports if we want to look at a specific learner. You will also notice you have two rows that indicate the total number of learners per term and the average that the learners are receiving in the term for the particular subject. So the top row are all your subjects, as you can see, from Afrikaans home language across to business studies, and they are high volume subjects in the school. And then as an overview, if you are the head of school, you can immediately start seeing patterns develop when you look at the results. So we've color coded this particular Google sheet so that a principal can immediately see where a learner's in trouble. In other words, a mark that is 40 or below in terms of percent is going to be flagged as red. A mark between 41 and 70 is going to be flagged as orange, and a mark above 80 is going to be flagged as green. And so a learner that has all green is clearly a learner doing well. A learner by extension who has everything red is clearly not doing well. And when you look at this particular screen, you can immediately start seeing where you need to ask questions, in which subjects you need to ask questions, and even more specifically, you can go and delve into each term and have a look at what's happening from term to term. To take this thing slightly further, you can go into subjects and you can get a subject distribution indicator, which also gives you an indication of per term what's happening in the subject, what the average is in that subject, what the change was from one term to another, and then the code distribution. And again, you have highlights around how many learners are sitting below 40%, etc., and how many learners are actually doing well in terms of code 6 and 7. And then at the end, you have the total number of learners. What this allows is for us to generate reports such as the one that you see here, where we can indicate to the principal which subjects the learner is suffering in terms of getting marks below 40%. And over the terms, you get a sense of the risk profile of subjects in terms of the number of learners that are not doing well based on the subjects that are under 40%. As a consequence, the principal is then in a position to engage with HODs or with subject heads or with grade heads and have very specific conversations around, firstly, the learner, and secondly, around what's going on in every subject, given that there are red flags. And you'll notice that from term 1 to term 3 in this example, the risk factors have increased dramatically in term 3 in comparison to term 1. And again, you can go and have conversations around curriculum coverage, around the quality of assessment, around the quality of feedback, and so on and so on. So, now that you've had a look at the video and learner outcomes, you'll get an immediate sense of why it is important to actually pay attention to the details. You would have noticed in that particular example where we demonstrated learner outcomes, you will get a very good sense from a helicopter perspective of what's happening in your classrooms just by virtue of drilling down into learner outcomes and the various assessment tasks that were used to generate those outcomes in terms of marks. We trust that you found this exercise valuable and that it will ignite in you the desire to do the same thing with other data sets available to you at your school. This brings us to the end of this video. As always, we thank you for watching, we thank you for your feedback, and we look forward to seeing you soon. In the meantime, can I ask that you subscribe to our channel, that you activate the notification bell so that you are alerted to all new videos that are launched on this particular channel. We look forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye.